So, first order of business is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 10, 2019.
I moved.
It's been so moved. Second?
I second with one correction on page, sorry, the correction is on the April 22nd. Oh, yes, with one correction on page 2. The motion by Rob, seconded by Crowley, was to consider the proposed resolution and to address other business at a special meeting. Those additions should be there, because then we go on and set the meeting time. But with that one change, I would second it.
And see, I'm not sure I see where you are.
Page 2, vote number 5.
Oh, yes.
It said we're gonna consider it, but we said we'd consider it at a special meeting. And then we, the group as a whole, set the meeting at April 22nd.
Okay, Ms. Shields, would you prepare to amend your,
I do.
Thank you.
so it's been moved and seconded that the amended minutes of the meeting of April 10th. Further discussion? So moved. All in favor? It's unanimous. Now we move on to April 22nd.
I can move acceptance with one change. Item number 2, open session. Mary Sylvester, who's here today, was elected the president, not appointed, the president of Auburn Water. So alter the word appointed to elected. And with that change, I move we accept it.
And is that correct?
It is.
Okay. Motion's been made, amending, as amended, and seconded.
I'll second it.
Discussion, all in favor? Moving on, Heather is going to present the quarterly.
Yep, so I passed that out. I apologize for the delay. I was out of the office. So you will have, as of May 31st in front of you, you will see the general operating account right now has a surplus of $46,644.37. And the sinking fund has a deficit right now, and that's strictly because of the timing, particularly on the Lewiston side. We have to wait till July 1st to pay their portion of deficit of $23,749.23. Right now, things are just starting to pick up a little bit with the nicer weather and so forth. So I envision by the next go round that we will be seeing quite a lot of activity. You will see the timber harvesting revenue is far exceeding. We didn't have anything budgeted this year for that, but you will see that we have $46,000 worth of harvesting revenue, and the cost of that harvesting is just shy of $7,000. But all the other accounts are in line for this time of the year.
So is it fair to say that the surplus is due to the
Directly due to the timber harvesting.
The excess on the forestry, where does that go, in sinking fund or
The excess on which
on
one?
forestry, on the revenues of the fund?
That doesn't go in the sinking fund, that stays on the operating side, and then the commissioner, can go to the budget process, particularly the commission in the past has elected to bring forward a portion of that surplus to, pay down the contributions for the Lewiston and Auburn Water Division and District for next year's budget. To say on the right there.
So that would mean that following fiscal year, then we wouldn't have that subsidy, but
Correct.
we would have to bring that.
Correct, we haven't brought the whole amount forward, we've kind of spaced it out a little bit, so it's not the peak and valley that you're referring to.
And how about the forestry, is that pretty well done for the time being?
Yes.
Are there any additional questions? Is there a motion?
I move we accept the report as presented.
Second, Richard? All in favor? Opposed?
So last meeting, the audit was passed out, I believe we went through it in detail, but I think people just wanted to have the opportunity to look through it and make sure there was no lingering questions. I did not get any emails with any questions. So at this juncture, it's up to the commission if they wanna accept it and put it on file.
I'll make that motion. Did we have one on the table? That was my question. Didn't we move and second it and then table the motion?
I believe that.
So you're removing from the table. Yeah, I'll second his to remove from the table.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the audit.
No, to remove it
That
from the
we
table.
remove it from the pending. We do it as two separate motions, I think. I guess we take it off the table status. All in favor? That's an easy one. Yeah. Would anybody care to move on the subject itself? On the audit?
I just take the vote.
Well, I'll make that motion.
Thank
We
you,
will
Joe.
accept the audit.
Second? Okay. And so, discussion? Now, I have one question. In light of our just completed review of the quarterly, are there any funds moving from the operating account to some other account in this budget as a result of the forestry profit?
That will be taken as part of unless the commission approves a special project that was not budgeted for. And that's, up to the commission to do at a later date. That funding source will be available when we consider the FY '20 budget.
Okay, not our budget, but the overall, the operational budget.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder if there are any plans to change or add some money to the signing of the check pertaining to the note on the audit.
Right, I'm working with the Public Works Director, Dale Doherty, who took Dave Jones' position. He reviews the bank reconciliations now. We are working on getting him signature rights for that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor? Unanimous. There's a thing going on here. Water quality update, Erica, but it's not Erica.
Unfortunately, it's me again. Unfortunately, the way this schedule works out, Erica is in that Maine Municipal Leadership Program, and she has a training course once a month, and it always happens on the day that we have this meeting. But that should be running out. I don't think she has too many left.
Okay.
In either case, updating you on some of the watershed activities. In front of you, I put down a couple of documents. These are hot off the press. I wanted to update you on the ag zone amendments. As you know, back along, we presented a resolution which is forwarded to the city council concerning the ag zone changes. On May 14th, this was being considered by the planning board, and they had a public hearing on the 14th, which I attended. I think Mary, you were there as well. They went line by line through the ag zone changes, and they got their heads back together, and they gave this, I believe it's the second page, the planning board report to the city council. This was just put on the website, I believe, last night. It was just given to the city council, so I have not had a chance to read through that in detail, but I do know at the end of this document, on the back page 4 of 4, a recommendation from the planning board was to give special consideration to the effects of changing the ag zone on the diverse watersheds within Auburn, both in North and South Auburn. So that the planning board did recommend that our resolution at least be taken under consideration as they move forward. There was also The first page you've got from Bernstein Shore, they took the existing edited language and kind of ran it by legal counsel. And so this is a result of their legal review. They had a number of issues with the way that the amendment was written. So where it stands right now is there is a advisory committee that is formed. I'm not sure exactly who's on that. I believe it's made of city staff and maybe some council members who are considering what to do for the next step, as they might be in the process of forming a kind of a permanent advisory board in conjunction with this ag zone change. So I don't know a whole lot more than that. I think I've heard kind of under people's breath that it's kind of back to the drawing board with this whole ag zone change. So I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go from here, but I just wanted to give you as much information as I had on it.
Based on preliminary review of this memorandum, it appears that the existing ordinance itself is being challenged, not just the amendment.
Very well could be. Yeah, it seems to be instead of getting more concise, it seems to be kind of going in different directions now. So stay tuned. I think it's gonna be a while till they come back with something.
There's homework to be done.
Right.
Thank you.
Some of the issues we have going on, it's in your packet. As you know, the last few times we met, we've been talking about the Rex Roads property and the request to have an easement on commission property in order to redo a leach field, which was either in the process of failing or had failed. Erica's done quite a bit of work on this. She's been working with Rex, Skelton, Taylor, and Abbott to draft an easement in order to get the force main pipe to go from his existing septic tank to the new location. You can see on the map. I don't know if you have your packets, but there's a map of where that is. Went back and forth with exactly what the value of that was. I talked to the city assessor and went over the value of the property. If it was sold outright, then kind of prorated that, came up with a number of $500 to pay to the commission for the right for the easement to install that leach field. It was designed and working with their site evaluator. I was, as you know, in order to get a leach field in that zone, you need, if you're putting in a new leach field, you need 36 inches of separation from seasonal groundwater. When they did the test pits, they didn't have the 36, but this is essentially a replacement system variance because their original one did not meet that anyway. So they're doing the best they can to meet the ordinance. What we want to have them do is come back and put in fill in order to get that 36-inch separation. That's only going to increase the water protection by doing that. So that's something that's going to happen as a result of this. So right now, it's just a matter of getting the easement back from the attorney, and should be good to go. If there's any questions on that, that's how we
I have
resolve
some
it.
questions on that. I'm happy to hear about the proposed adding to get to the 36. But my understanding of that particular ordinance is that it must be natural, it cannot be created. So is
That's correct. If you've got if you've got virgin property and you want to put in a house, that's right. You can't
There's
add
the
fill
ordinance.
in order to get that.
So has this been approved by the city as in compliance with the current ordinance, meaning it's exempt from that standard? Or are they taking the position it's silent and going to be addressed if objected to?
That's a good question. I will bring that up.
I
I'll
would
ask.
love to
I'll
see
do
them
that.
take the 36 and make it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, this is one of those hot buttons from my beginning.
Oh, yeah.
That was not the city's position before. I'm hoping and happy if they changed, but let's make sure if they did, that they make that announcement, A, take credit for making the change, but B, making sure it doesn't look like all of a sudden we've got an exception because of the person.
Right.
None of that's our business, other than I don't want us indirectly being dragged in if they choose to do nothing until it happens.
And again, the big difference being that it's not, and you are correct, you
Yeah,
can't,
but the city has been very firm about no creation of the
Right.
36 inches,
Right.
very firm,
Yeah.
unwilling to discuss it. So I'm hoping that by this, we get to discuss it and fix the problem, because it just makes sense to the city. It surely does.
but I certainly wouldn't want this being applied to a property that currently has no development on it. That's,
Well, again, those
That's-
are two separate points, but before, and it's not our business, I'm only suggesting that under the current ordinance, it's my understanding that you can't do this either. It clearly addresses what you call virgin land, but it does not allow for an exception for non-virgin land, and I just
Right.
want to, I want the city to do what we
Mhm.
hope.
Yep.
But it will set a precedent, it will change things, for me, it's for the good.
I will do that.
Should, Skeleton is representing us or him or both and who's paying?
They, Rex will be paying for that. They're representing, well, since Rex is paying for it, we've initiated, but Rex is going to be, I guess, probably reimbursing us for it.
Okay. So could you check on that with Erica and then I personally would like to see what the easement looks like
Mhm.
before this becomes final.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Would it have been appropriate to have a vote to accept this proposal?
And nothing's appeared yet, there's no proposal yet, is there? We agreed, I think the prior meeting, we simply agreed to proceed with
Right.
the discussion. And we haven't, I don't think we approved of the easement itself yet.
But I'm only going on the basis of what's in front of me, a price of $500 to be paid by Rex to LAWPC was determined to be fair and was accepted by Rex. I mean, I realize that the amount of the value ascribed to the easement, but are they proceeding?
Not yet, nothing's happened yet.
No construction.
And to the extent that the value which we are seeking, which is being sought, should be included as part of the final vote. Because, you're right, we have not talked about the price of, you know, the amount to be charged for this privilege. But are you suggesting something, or?
Well, no, I'm just wondering, is time of the essence in this project? I mean, is there
Well,
an ongoing problem that we're not addressing because you can't do any work until?
I'm just thinking I guess I'd like to know how to proceed. Our next meeting is September. So, I'm not sure what we can, I guess, would you like to see the final design, final easement and then vote whether or not to move forward?
Well, we had discussed at one point during one of the meetings that perhaps there should be limits, put in to the effect that, you know, there'd be no expansion of the use and, you know, other key points. We haven't seen any language yet, so it's difficult to pre-approve something we haven't seen. And staff has determined that $500 is an appropriate amount. Well, maybe I'm satisfied with that, perhaps Joe is
Oh,
not.
I'm probably fine.
Okay. But mean,
I do know that that provision was, that you just brought up was addressed with him, and he understands that, you know, you can't design this for a 5-bedroom home and then later on add bedrooms on top of it.
Right.
Cause it's already essentially non-conforming.
I think since this is in the watershed, since we're already got a questionable from the seaside ordinance, that we should, before we vote, have everything in front of us in a clear document that is the actual proposed vote, that would include the pricing, will be clear that the attorney represents us, but that he's covering the cost of such things, cost of registering these easements. I assume by this that Scott and Taylor are preparing the easement document, which I know we normally have at Interskogan Land Trust for all of our others. So I would like to not vote until I have everything in one place and these questions answered, so.
But I think
Because
you and Joe bring up an interesting point. You work around it in the sense that is there an ongoing problem with the septic that's causing an issue with the lake that needs to be addressed between now and September? How are you determined how severe the?
I have not, I do not know.
So if it's severe, we need to have a special meeting to get this accomplished, just as we would if we had an unbelievable erosion issue. It'd be nice to wait till September, but,
I can find that out. I didn't, I haven't talked directly with Rex myself on this, it's been Erica. It's my understanding that I don't think it's a failing system at this point.
It's just, it's uncritical.
I think it's something he's looking to
Yeah.
plan for.
Okay. Yes, Richard.
And, last meeting, I thought I understood that they were pumping the tank now, they weren't using the system anymore, the old one. In other words,
I think there is a pump associated with the existing system. I don't think they're pump.
what I'm saying is that the present system he has is failed, and they're pumping the tank so it doesn't overflow into the field. Is that,
I don't believe so. I think the leach field is still
okay,
functional.
so it's,
Well, it can be pumped, right?
oh, yeah, it can go,
So
that's,
consequently,
yeah.
I guess the onus is on the owner. It's a little bit of literature, but I mean, the onus is on him to, if his leach field is, failing, then he has the tank pumped several times a year.
My experience, and I had several tanks, not tanks, but systems, and usually when the field is starting to fail, the field can't handle it. And you basically have to pump the tank until you get a new system put in. So that was my question on how near is that? Usually you don't know it's failing until that happens, that's what I'm trying to say, that's the bottom line.
that's my personal experience, we don't know until it happens.
It's usually in the middle of winter, but.
During the wedding.
Because everyone's had a personal experience, but right now, we're dealing with, between today and, let's say, September, October, so it behooves us to get this issue, dealt with and put aside, so he can do this. In the meantime, he can always pump it a few times, and have somebody come in and pump the tank. I assume.
I mean, I can do that. I can have this available for the September meeting.
Can we all agree that the money's not an issue? Take one thing off the table.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Should we make it in the form of a motion?
I'd be glad to do that. I would move that the $500 fee is an adequate fee to be paid for this right away.
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor? Good thought. So that takes that out of the picture, so we're talking about language and the business with the 36 inch. Yes, Richard?
Were we supposed to have discussion before we voted?
Oh, I asked
Some
him,
amendment on the $500?
Oh, I thought he asked us, but he
You don't, okay.
go ahead.
go ahead.
But my concern is, if we didn't have discussion, we don't know what the design is yet. Because we've discussed about, the 3-foot separation. So he might need more land, is what I'm saying. I mean, is it, do you follow what I'm saying?
Which would impact the value of
Right,
the
yeah.
easement.
Well, the $500 is, can we agree to amend this, the motion to say the $500 is adequate if the current configuration or an approximation of it is the final result?
That's fair enough.
Okay,
That would be my amendment.
okay.
That was part of my second.
Okay, that's part of the second, so I think, Mike, the amendment would be, provided that the.
But to agree to pay a price of $500 paid by Rex once the easement is accepted and approved by the commission.
$500 for just the, use the rec word here.
Price of $500 to be paid for an easement.
Right.
For
Based on
the
the
easement,
present design.
Based on the
right,
present.
based on the present design.
Okay.
Okay.
So the question before us now is, how does the city feel about adding the fill to give us a 36 inches?
Right. And to see, well, there's apparently, Sid reported that there's a distinction between, I believe, a virgin piece of land
And exist.
and existing. And this is, it supposedly falls into the existing, and if that in fact exists within the city as a permitted kind of thing, then we should say, they should say so, and we should say yes. And if it isn't, then we need to go back to the drawing board about Phil. Because it's not, as Tiz pointed out, it's somebody else's decision, we're just, making sure that we put that issue before the right people. Fair enough?
Mhm.
And do you have anything more, Erica?
Not on that one. Did you want to vote to
Yeah, vote on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it's been moved and seconded that we amend the initial motion to include the new language. Discussion, all in favor? Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Sid?
Yep.
you're-
Skipping ahead, I'll just go over the things I've got, then I'll turn it over. The alum permit, we did receive the permit to apply alum to the lake back in last week officially. We are planning to move ahead and do that alum treatment starting July 8th or somewhere thereabouts. We did have a meeting, a team meeting just yesterday with the group, the internal people, our consultants, the applicator, the DEP, and we'll have a few more meetings prior to the actual application. There's a lot of things to do and a lot of things to coordinate. But we are planning to move ahead, and we're looking forward to a successful application. Right now, we kind of have the advantage of having the company around that are currently doing the same application up at Cocknawagan Lake up in Monmouth. It's they're doing the exact same application up there, so all of us have been up there and seen their process, and we've taken some of the alum product they're using. We're doing some testing with it, some jar testing to find the appropriate dose. So we're moving ahead and we're rocking and rolling with that project.
Sid, is that in a powdered or a liquid form?
Liquid.
Liquid?
And we're gonna have a newspaper account talking about what we will be doing.
Yes, that's a good point. We are doing a bunch of public announcement media things for that. It's currently in our consumer confidence report that goes to it's gonna be available electronically, and we do have copies of that. We're going to have a news release regarding that. We're going to send notifications to all the abutters that receive notification of the permit modification. Back when we put the permit in for this, we were required by the state to send them a notification. A lot of people weren't ready for it, didn't understand what it was, because it was something we were required to do and add all the technical language of, the modification of the permit. I think, John, you got a copy of that as one of the butters around the lake. But we're gonna put out another one that's a little more easy to read and gives you the 5 W's, where, what, why, and when. And the last one, but doing all the W's. Like I said, there's gonna be a newspaper, newspaper release. We're going to have it on our website, our Facebook pages, so we'll certainly get the word out. It's gonna be a lot different than the copper sulfate treatment we did last fall. That was a 1 day, 1 dose thing. This is gonna go on for as many as 3, maybe even 4 weeks every day. Yeah, it's a much more involved process. It's a much more benign process. It's not there to kill anything like the copper sulfate was. That was there to kill the algae and have it eliminated. But this is a binding agent, just a much different product. But we're not going to be closing the bulk launch during this application. We're not going to be staged at the boat launch. We're going to be staged from the UV facility. So it's
Much strawberry flavored this time instead of cucumber.
yeah, exactly.
And turbidity will improve as a result of this treatment.
Everywhere this has been done, there's a marked improvement in water clarity. But
That's the anticipated result.
Yeah.
It's improved turbidity numbers.
So the second liquid saline.
Starting.
And who's the applicator?
Solitude is the company.
Really?
Yep. Solitude. Yeah, they're out of Massachusetts.
Okay, so I want to consult somebody on marketing.
Sole source, right?
Maybe it's solitude.
No, it's not.
Servitude.
In any event, anything further?
Yeah, conservation easements.
Before you move on to that.
What's that?
can we-
Yeah.
Can we stay on that one?
Sure.
Because I have 2 things. One is, so the people who actually draw the water directly from the lake, I know we have, group of
7.
families. How have, I know they're notified as John, would there be any difference, for usage during that time?
There is not a requirement to do so, but we will notify them as well. That's a good point, because there is actually one resident.
It's planned for deep water, and the zones aren't necessarily gonna be over their intake, but we'll make sure to check that. Make sure
And
to
in
give them
the
some
past, when we did something, we offered them drinking water, bottled drinking water, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
There was because there was one
Yeah.
house that actually draws water
Right.
for consumption.
So I just wanna make sure that,
Yep.
one, all of them that draw directly sort of get some special attention, and 2, that any that are using it for direct drinking, whatever you suggest. Okay. That's 1. 2 is, I heard lots of releases, one-way communication, and just so we don't anticipate a lot of negative, social media, any possibility of doing sort of a, like for a better word, community conversation or dialogue? And if we didn't wanna go through the efforts of preparing one, because it is a holiday week starting and all that, maybe reach out to United New Auburn, and they meet the last Tuesday of the month, and maybe Sid or someone could be their guest speaker that night, which they draw other than United New Auburn. It's really like a citywide neighborhood meeting. They might have to change the location, but I bet they'd be up for guest speaker.
Sure.
And eliminate that whole negative, and then we're reacting to it, get out in front of it and say, this is not to worry about, these are all the reasons why we're doing it, this is why it's better. That would be my suggestion, but if not that, just think of how we're gonna have 2-way dialogue without having to use Facebook.
Just to set the record straight, Tiz, we don't draw, Doris and I don't draw from the lake for drinking water purposes. And Doris got the notice that she was kind enough to share it with me.
He knew who to give the details to.
Just to make it absolutely clear.
What is that group meet?
Excuse me.
When does that
The
group meet?
last Tuesday of the month, not guess, I don't know how many Tuesdays are in June. I do know there's been discussion for that same day to do the, whatever they're gonna do with the bells and the carillon, that the bells are gonna go in, there's gonna be some, they're looking at that date as the same thing, so it may be a pretty large group.
Who should I contact?
Leroy,
I'd be happy to do that.
and he'd probably be happy to think that he's got a speaker this early. And if not June, and if it's gonna go on for weeks, it could be in July, but I'm just thinking it's a friendly way to get out some information.
Great. Any other questions on that? Conservation easements, we did close on the Pope property. If you're familiar with that, that property was purchased by the commission 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, and one of the wishes of the seller was to have a portion of that used for recreational purposes. So we worked with the Androscoggin Land Trust to have them survey the property, and then we paid them to put that into a under their stewardship. So we completed that process late last month. So that's finally behind us. There's a number of watershed projects here. I don't know if you want to go through them, but we do have a grant for source water protection, looking to purchase a flow meter to be installed at Townsend Brook outlet, and also to fund the flyover of the watershed with a drone. One of the reasons for getting a permanent flow meter at Townsend Brook is, as you know from the tests we've done on Townsend Brook, that's a high phosphorus input location. So we want to be able to correlate flow to rain conditions, so we can do a kind of a mass balance of how much water is going in, and that will help us gauge that. Something we didn't have the ability to do before.
Does the flyover would be over a period of time, or is it becoming a fixture in our arsenal of data collection?
Well, we've had two done, Kevin, so far. We've had 2 done so far, so we want to get another one to see if there are any changes from the last time it was done. And
So, I mean, this is not a constant thing? You just go out periodically?
It's another tool to go after some of the non-point source coming in. So we did you can do some LiDAR for contours, figure out if there's any change in grading. And the other one can be temperatures. You can find out warm temperatures, you can find springs. We're talking about phosphorus wells. Are they coming from a spring? You can also see during the cold season, you can see discharges coming from a home. Someone having an illicit discharge going into a brook, low in phosphorus. So it's not on a regularly scheduled item, but it's another tool. So we're thinking it's time to check the area again.
Well,
but it's a one-time thing.
As someone who doesn't draw water from the lake but lives on the lake, having flyovers every other day would be somewhat intrusive.
Not every other day.
We won't go to your house.
And we're not
This is Townsend Brook.
It's more like over.
Yeah, over Bethel's house.
I don't draw water from the lake either.
How about flyovers with forestry practices, with harvesting? Is that something you inventory also?
We haven't started yet, but that's another tool. So
Yeah.
a lot of the AUVs and the drones, or whatever you want to call it, a lot of them are getting loaded up with different types of tools, and some of the consultants are starting to use it, and the price is coming down. So
I think that's a big factor because of non-point erosion. There's a lot of
we do pre and post inspection. There's a lot of things.
cutters out there that really don't.
We are looking to use it more, but it would be on a case by case, and we're not looking to violate anybody's privacy or do just this mass inspection. But really, it's another tool to pinpoint what's going on or to document pre and post type work.
Do we own it or do you rent it each time?
It actually comes with we hire it from a consultant. Right now, that's kind of easier because you can buy a drone, but to do the FCC and to actually fly it is much more involved. So.
Do you
Right
tell
now.
people when you're doing it, or just do
I think we've done it on our own parcel stuff, so other than letting the abutters know that.
That's pretty carry.
In Bethel's house.
There are recreational people out there that fly their own and they don't follow any rules,
Right.
kind of like most other stuff. They're not doing it to get paid or have a license to. So that's a different story.
It's my understanding, taking a point that Richard brought up, there's no forestry, there is no harvesting right now, any place on our property.
No, correct.
Thank you. Sid, we all set on your?
Moving on to another,
One little question on the very last sentence in the lake, where we're having higher than usual runoff in the lake. Does that help flushing? Does that improve the flushing rate where we have higher water levels? Cause I know we have to maintain a certain level on the shore line now because of, reports of Wagner, I think, or somebody said, because of the,
Right.
if you look,
Yeah.
follow what I'm
So
saying.
I think based on the report that CDM Smith put together and some of the internal flushing rates,
Mm.
we're at 7 years. So we've tried to manage it different ways in the past, keeping as low as possible, but they've done a good job of opening the dam and getting that level out. I think one event, Chris said, where the lake went up like 6 inches in
Yeah.
one event. So during the winter, it was tough to respond to that, but they're doing their best trying to keep it at the lake level.
Really, there's no real big change as far as flushing where we have a
I don't think it,
higher runoff.
I don't think it flushes additional nutrients out of the lake,
Just
that's
a
what you're asking.
technical question, I was curious
The-
about.
Still the biggest outflow is water consumption for the communities.
Where we gotta maintain that certain level now because of the geologist reports. What I was concerned is you can't lower the lake any less than that because you're just gonna bring up internal recycling, I guess, or whatever.
Well, I think what we found is the drought of 101, we saw that, and then we tried other seasons to get it low, and you just create more shallow water that warms quicker.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while we don't want to necessarily just cause backwater and raise it high,
Yeah,
I
six of
think
water
we're kind of
doesn't-
where we're at.
doesn't-
Yeah,
That's
but I don't think we can increase our flushing, so that makes the alum treatment that much more important.
Yeah.
Good question.
On to Mike.
Sure. So, project, I think it's in the packet under water quality update. I don't know how this first came about or came to our attention, but Eric and I looked into this on Lund Road. It's an abandoned road off from, what is that, Sid?
It's between Holbrook and Hersey Hill Road.
So it's an abandoned road. We own the property. That road used to have several culverts that crossed it. Excuse me. A few years ago, one of those culverts failed, and we actually went in there and just removed the culvert, stabilized the banks, and cleaned it up so there wasn't erosion going on. Well, the first culvert in on the road, which is shown in these pictures here on the bottom, has been found to have failed this spring. It's actually a 36-inch culvert that goes underneath that road, and it failed right underneath the road, so the whole road washed down into the culverts, and then the bankings on either side collapsed in. So we have gotten a price to replace the culvert and stabilize that, but we're thinking, why do that? We're not going to use this as a road. It'll never be as a road again. We'd like to revert it back to the natural state. So it's actually a pretty big project because of the depth and how wide back you have to go to stabilize that. So I think we were looking for what, 7,500 to get that work done. So it is it's a pretty big issue right now. It's quite a bit of material that's already washed down in there, and the more storms you get, it's just going to continue. So that is failing right now. So we'd like to get that taken care of.
Will you rip wrap that?
Yeah, they're going to stabilize it, fabric, rip wrap, the whole thing. So that's the idea.
I'd like to take those banks back far enough so you can get some seed to take. So little.
You said it was pricey, would you care to give us a range?
7,500.
75?
Yeah, it would be 4,800 just to put the culvert back and restore it to what it was. But we'd like to. There's no sense to. We're not going to maintain that road. We don't need it. let's revert it back to a natural state and stabilize it, so.
You need to vote today for that.
Yeah, we'd like to, and then one other project, been assessing some of the catch basins out along Route 4, as part of a grant we may be eligible for through the wastewater treatment plant. While out there the other day, the Route 4 turnout, I found this basin, as you can see in here, I know it's a small picture and everybody's far away. This catch basin's in that turnout, and right now, because of the frost, this basin is heaved up about 3 inches. And the curbing behind the catch basin is gone. So the water that comes off that parking lot, instead of going in that catch basin, just washes directly into the lake. And if you drive out Route 4 right now, you'll see that they seal coated the shoulders on either side of the road. And as you see here, all of that tar and whatnot that washed off the road came in here, and and again is a direct input to that lake. If we can keep it in this catch basin, that catch basin actually discharges on the outlet side. So what I'd like to do is just come in here and cut this top out, bring it back up to grade, restore the curbing on the back, and then restore the sidewalk that goes around the back of that, because it's all washed out right now. But that one is a small one. It's more paving work than anything, but be less than $1,000.
I thought the state was going to do away with that turnout.
Yeah, that's
They will, that's part of that was a project that started a couple of years ago. They've had several public meetings, and I've been to all of them. And I keep asking, when is it going to happen?
Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
And my
to tell you the
impression
truth.
being at those meetings, because they have to do with the turn,
Yeah,
typically, is they shut the one up by Turner off, so there's no urgency for them now to do this one. So I didn't think this one, my was left with the impression, oh yeah, it's on the list, but.
well, and they also said they would have to do a hammerhead for the,
Jug handle
tow
turn
trucks.
around,
yeah.
I don't know where that project's at, but it's likely to be quite a while before that happens. In the meantime, every time it rains,
Right.
everything's
Oh,
washing right
gosh.
into the lake there. So I think, if we
That's a
do a
quick
vote
fix.
for the 2 projects, it'd be $8,500. I think would cover them both.
I move.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did you say that if we do the fix on the second project that you recommend, that the discharge will be into the outlet?
yeah.
This catch basin right here, outlets on the discharge side of the lake, on the
Right.
outlet side. So actually, there's a trench that goes across Route 4, and outlets over there. Right now, it's heaved up, so all the water, instead of going in the catch basin, is going right through the break in the curbing and into the lake.
No, I understand.
Oh, okay.
But I'm concerned that we're gonna catch some comments from the folks who wish to have the outlet in better condition for public use and not having us.
That's already there, and there's already several other basins that outlet over there. It's all
But
piped
It
there.
didn't really flow into, if I recall.
Flows into the
when I was
ditch
over-
that goes into the outlet.
It
Right.
goes into that
Problem
area, but
is-
not where the potential swimming
Right.
water, it all went.
Goes into the ditch line on the other side.
Right. So adding that is not but I would agree with you, John, I would hear, so
Yeah,
be
you may-
clear,
You may
it's
wanna-
not into the swimming place.
Right.
It's down that path that you showed us pictures of and around, as anything that falls off Route 4.
Right.
Goes that way.
That's the same catch basin. You might remember 2 years ago, maybe probably longer than that now, but someone came by and dumped 50 gallons of oil into it. That's the basin they dumped it into.
Yeah.
We found a sheen on the outlet side, traced it back, and that's where they dumped it.
So, if you'd be so kind as to reword the language that pertains to perhaps you might want to refer to returning this flow of surface water back to its natural state, which takes it beyond.
The easterly side of Route 4.
Yeah, no, that's basically what we're doing. It's already existing. This is what it was designed to do. That's what it's approved to do. We're just gonna get it so it functions.
Is the reason you're presenting them both because one outfit is going to do the whole thing?
One will, probably the Auburn Water District or the Lewiston Water Division, that isn't easy. We'll go out, cut the hut top and prep it, and then that's just more paving work than anything.
Okay,
We're not doing any pipe work. This project, Erica's secured one estimate to do it now. I know she's working on getting a couple more, so we get a competitive number. And that's probably gonna be subbed out, just cause it's the busy season and it's a
does
decent
it make
sized project.
sense then to do it with 2 motions?
However you want, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Is there a motion?
So I will move to, authorize the Lake Auburn portion, pull-out portion first.
The 4,500 and the 1,000.
No, that's the $1,000.
Okay, 1,000. I'll second that motion.
Okay.
And my only comment is, and I think this is important, we're gonna spend some money today that was not on our agenda, and I think it's very important that again, we be more transparent for a couple of reasons. One, these are both good projects, so why not take credit for doing good work? But two is people talk about funding and cost and where we spend our money on golf management and that. I think it's very important. If it was an emergency, it came up after this agenda packet was printed, that'd be handy, but it sounds like staff's been working on both of these projects. So I would just ask that any future funding requests like these be in the agenda.
What if they're in the budget already?
Then we shouldn't have to vote. So if it requires a vote, it should be here. If it
That's
doesn't
what,
require.
and that's where I'm going with that.
Right.
Is this in the budget expressly? Probably not.
I would assume not.
It would be under, well, we hit the erosion control line item.
I'm in support of doing this now. This is future behavior I'm talking about.
Okay, well, let's proceed then. All in favor?
Whoops, did you have this?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Are there temporary erosion controls now for the one road? Nothing?
Nothing.
So do you anticipate maybe having erosion controls until that's fixed? Is it a big task? If it is, then
It's a pretty big task. Right now,
It's an abandoned road that's basically grown up.
my concern is.
Pull the pavement, everything's grown
Yeah.
in, so.
This summer.
Yeah, my concern was what the patterns we've had. And if we get a contractor, we don't know what their schedule is, and if they're gonna get material that's gonna be running into the lake. Do we need to put money in for erosion, temporary erosion controls now?
We can take another look at that, yeah, specifically.
Cause that looks pretty bad, I mean, as far as material leaving the site.
it was several yards. It's gone.
That's,
No, I agree. Erosion control is, we don't wanna be found contributing to the
I think
mess.
we got good.
We can go down and mulch the eroded area for now until the contractor can be selected and get that repaired. We can do that.
So, just feel maybe the 7,500 still is within the,
I think we're good.
That's our next vote.
Okay, that's, no. Richard, you wanna make a motion on the 75?
We didn't vote on the first one.
Take care of
We
it.
have to raise our hands on the 1,000.
I thought
Yes, we did.
Okay. Oh, we did before the.
That's right.
Okay, got that.
All right, that is an estimate, that is not the final price, correct?
Correct. That's one price that we've gotten.
So we wanna,
Say up to,
pardon me,
say up to.
I hate to do that.
We spend less, we spend less.
All right, you want me to do it that way? I move that we authorize the correction of the erosion on one road up to $7,500.
If that's not enough,
Come back.
if
We
you
could
did-
take it.
if you said up to a little more than that, you wouldn't have to come back.
Right. And
I said up to.
Set up to
I did,
75.
75.
But
But
75 is the
75 is
limit.
not enough, because you've only got one bid, right?
Right.
So if it's 8,500 or something, so if you said up to, we wouldn't have to come back.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed 8,500?
Beautiful, just beautiful.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, not to exceed 8,500.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Thank you, Steve. All in favor?
Sid, you remember Ken Marshall?
Yeah.
Read the name, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Story goes he was.
He, I know exactly what happened there.
And lived
He
to tell
slipped
about
down, he went through it feet first and came out the other side.
Really?
That culvert?
that culvert.
His body? I mean,
Yeah,
physically?
yeah, that's a big, I didn't see it happen.
No,
Everyone says,
6 inches, and that's a good size culvert.
Oh, boy.
Get an inspection report from him.
Okay, does that
It looked good.
Does that do the water report? So we had the privilege of seeing Sid play the part of Erica and Mike played the part of Vanna White. We're all set.
And now Lauren can play Lauren. There's
Okay,
some
good.
activities there.
You're on, Lon.
Just a quick update of events. We did the forestry and the Watershed talk series in, it was in April now. Not super well attended. Next time I'm gonna think more about timing and pre-planning. My first sort of go around with, community events and talks and times. So we'll address that next time. We had a wild seed project presentation at the Lewiston Public Works Building. That was really well attended, which was really cool. A lot of different people from a lot of different towns, which was really nice. And that got a lot of good social media coverage. People liked it and wanted to attend. Watershed trivia at Gritty's, that was actually really great. We got people who were there anyways for their Monday night trivia. So we reached a new crowd, which was really good. People who didn't necessarily know we were gonna be there. So we kind of ambushed them with some Watershed trivia, and it went pretty well. So that was fun. Whiting's Farm Plant Sale, just there with the Androscoggin Soil and Water Conservation District, supporting them with their plant sale and just meeting people in the community. And then Lewiston High School, I went to their career fair, and I also went to one class just to do a quick presentation on the treatment plant, and that was pretty nice. The career fair was actually pretty good. A lot of students didn't know what we did, and they were somewhat interested, so that was nice. For the summer, we have an event actually tomorrow night at Side by Each Brewery with the Good Food Council of Lewiston Auburn. They're doing some presentations for their Good Food Council, and we're using it as a networking event for water and food in the Lewiston Auburn area. And pulling from Portland Water District, they did a drinking water week with a whole tour of breweries, and they got a lot of people because it's easy to get people in with beer. And it's a great connection, and the breweries are all really supportive of our efforts and other watershed efforts.
What time is that?
That's at 5. It's at 5. It goes till 7. There's going to be a quick presentation at 5:30, but it's really just meet other community members and see how we can collaborate on future projects.
Conservation Commissioner Cameron was receiving an award that night.
Yep, there's 2 awards. And then next week we have a wildlife walk at actually Thorn Crag, just to switch up locations, but with Ben Nugent, our wildlife biologist, and he will be a talk, and we already have I think like 8 signups for that, and that's at I believe that's at 5:30 or 5, and then some other paddle events, and we are partnering with Baxter to keep that brewery train rolling for July.
I think you've done a great job with programs and activities, and I wonder if others can't help you with promotion. So I was at a conservation meeting, and they were telling us about this. I said, "Oh, I didn't know that." And she said it was being put on by us, and so I embarrassingly went back home, and I think you gave us all the dates. One is if you could partner, and I'll take conservation as if that would get it on the city promotion. You know, they never have any money, but they're happy to help promote those kinds of things. And then making sure that timely, even for people like us, but the little reminder that tomorrow night and next week, because I think your programs have really been well. I think you've had a problem with a couple dates, which you wouldn't know until it happens, but mostly it's a lack of people not knowing close enough. You told us all, but then you didn't tell us later.
I've been using Constant Contact. I don't want to send too many emails out in 1 week just because I don't want to spam people's inbox.
Well, speaking as one commissioner, anytime you want me to show up someplace, just send me a reminder.
Awesome, thank you.
7 multitudes.
I'm sorry. Well, I would hope I have some commission colleagues there, especially if she's gonna provide beer locations.
And food there too.
Yes, there will be food.
No, but that's a good recommendation, because we all have things that, we calendar ahead,
Sure.
and frequently these things sort of supplementary and
Is
will become, but
So what does Snapchat work?
Yeah,
I
just
don't know what that is.
So the Facebook isn't working, maybe
yeah,
Snapchat
is
or?
email better? Do you check
Email.
Facebook or
I don't know
Email
where
is
email
much better,
is.
I don't do Facebook.
I
Okay.
used to do Facebook.
because I'm trying to do both and trying to see who responds to what.
All of the above.
But I'm open to any other suggestions.
So I don't know how this is done, but this might save you some time. With Alan at the city, she'd heard enough whining from people like me. So whatever goes on Facebook, she now has this thing that it shows up on the right-hand side of the city. So you don't have to be on Facebook to get all Facebook information. And somehow she's triggered it, if you sign up for alert means I get the notice. So I would encourage all of you, regardless of your city, to sign up for Auburn's alertness.
We can do the same thing for Lewiston.
Yes, they do.
So for those non-Facebook people,
Yeah.
Twitter,
You can, you can tweet into the president.
Somehow, people get blended too, that's what I thought, when I just changed the time.
Yeah.
Lord is
Yeah.
much more tech savvy and she's doing a phenomenal job, so I know, I have limited apps I use as well, just to.
And perhaps you fall into the same category as me, you don't care. So really,
Oh, I'm trying to go to all
oh, you are,
of them, yeah,
well done.
That's because there are breweries.
No, I made the forestry ones.
So Lauren, you're all set?
Yep.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you.
And now we have an open session for the public, which means Mary and Casey.
Have a chance, well, thanks. Well, we do have a group of active, some especially new trustees on our board. And so they're bringing a lot of attention to questions that are on their minds. One can imagine that the conversations about land use related to the egg zone and the natural resource protection zone, as well as last year's questions about the lake and water quality and other conversations. There were a number of people who attended Dr. Holly Ewing's presentation at Great Falls Forum. One of the things that has resulted is we already have 2, and we may well get more applications for the vacancy that will come up in July for the Lake Auburn Watershed Protection Commission appointment from the Auburn Water District. So that, of course, says we better have a process to deal with multiple applications. We certainly have gone from an era when perhaps no one applied and we had to seek applicants to now a chance where people are saying, I want to. So we have voted at a special meeting on June 5th, an application and appointment process where applicants will be considered by a nominations committee who can review all of them, however many there are, and make a nomination to the full board while also showcasing all of the qualifications of each person who ended up applying. And then the full board will have a chance to consider the nomination and also consider another candidate should they not wish to go with the nominee. But at least that creates a process so that we can handle multiple applications. So I guess we have a very engaged community, which is a healthy and robust thing. That doesn't mean everybody agrees on everything. I think there are a lot of different points of view that are now being quite activated. So we need to make sure we are establishing if we need to, and following all of the processes to ensure we're handling ourselves in a really business-like manner around these questions. And as the questions come forward, we are affirming that our process is to be scientifically and informationally driven and having respectful public discussions and not hurrying to fast decisions under some forms of pressure or other thoughts. At the time that the Water District needed to seek City Council authorization to go forward with the bond for the alum treatment, an attachment to their approval was that we needed to examine the cost-sharing models for Auburn Water District with the City of Lewiston. So we are obligated to look at that question anew, and again, following our model of study and understanding and review and public discussions and analysis before any action, we have agreed that our first step is to understand our current agreements and how they have functioned and how it's being handled now by type and project. And Sid, the superintendent, is preparing some information for the trustees to review at our June 19th meeting. At a workshop we did to create some process around how to handle these questions. This particular question, we agreed that there will be a work group that will look at this further, and that before, certainly not going to rush into any discussions. We simply need to follow our council's direction, that we understand and look at models, and that the analysis would determine any changes to be considered for any possible future cost allocation models. So we do have some research to do and some understanding, but given that there are many new trustees, the right first place to begin is always to understand what the situation is now, what is the foundation of the current practice. So we begin that work on June 19th. For that model, it is also the case that while City Council in Auburn chose not to endorse the mayor's desire to create a mayoral task force to look at filtration, that the idea that the Auburn Water District trustees should understand the studies ourselves that have already been done, and that the Water District trustees have a responsibility to know what work has already been done to study that question and have a deeper understanding of the potential benefits and the limitations and more of the implications, since much possibly not complete or even necessarily accurate information can sometimes get into public dialogue. So following our model of study, thoughtfully prepared, review and analysis and understanding with discussion and moving in an appropriate way forward. That's the decision that we have agreed to as a method to look at filtration options, costs, benefits, and the limitations. Naturally, there are a number of other questions that are floating through the community, and we will proceed in a responsible way in looking at those as questions worthy of investigation in a responsible manner. There's certainly, I think they say that the health of a community, one of it can be diagnosed among other ways by understanding how people come together to look at questions and study them and discuss them together. And I think we can model the way that a strong community allows questions to be asked and finds ways to learn and discuss together. And certainly with new technologies, new information sharing models available to us, I think we're pretty committed to making sure that we have a healthy, robust set of well-informed discussions in our community. We do not live in the community in Auburn, I imagine not anywhere right now, where there are a lot of people who are eager to participate, and that's a good thing. Not necessarily eager to run for office, but certainly eager to be part of discussions. So that's healthy. We've had people coming to our public meetings, some to listen, some just to talk. We had a student from Edward Little High School contact Sid and the mayor and me with questions about the lake and recreational access policies. So, young people too. This is all good, all healthy ways that good communities work together. So that's what's cooking at the Auburn Water District, and of course you're all welcome to come, and we're trying to make sure we get our videos. I'm liking this YouTube streaming that the city council and planning board meetings are doing, so I think we all have opportunities to try to get this. I had an opportunity to watch the video of the workshop that we did at the Water District with TIS, and discovered all of us need to remember we're on camera. Because every time you scratch your ear or do whatever, there you are when you're watching the video. It's like, okay, good to watch this, good to know. And so there we are in the 21st century.
Mary, I have a question. In the process of reviewing all of these pre-existing studies and so forth,
Yes.
Are you folks thinking of hiring an expert to guide you?
Well, we're very fortunate that we already have one who sits to my left. Had this been done elsewhere, say by a citizens committee, there would not have been professional staff to guide the discussion. But as water district trustees, we already have professional staff who can help us with guiding our understanding. So we're lucky in that matter. And I think it's appropriate, as Councilor Young said during the discussion, this is the bit as opposed to the mayor's task force. It was to say that this is the business of the Auburn Water District.
Mhm.
And we have highly qualified professional staff. Aren't we fortunate? We think we do. So, but that's a good question, because I wouldn't know how to read one of those reports and understand it properly.
The news too. So, did you have comments, Casey?
No, I'm just here to watch.
So we'll close unless somebody's got some
Any
questions
other
to ask.
questions, I'm happy to answer. It's a lively crowd over there at our meetings at 4 p.m. So you're welcome to be on the other side of watching a public meeting if you'd like, and you would not be alone.
And your next meeting is?
On the 19th at 4 p.m.
And would we be behind the camera?
Well, you could.
It depends on where you sit in the room, just like here. Mike does.
We never tell you where it's gonna be.
But most of the time, the audience isn't seen if they sit in the longer side.
It's a sign that some of us are of a certain age, as it just brought to mind watching Candid Camera and watching people not know that they were on camera, and all of a sudden I realized, oh my goodness, we were all on camera here. So we didn't do anything too embarrassing, but we did have a few moments where some of us, coughed or scratched or.
Tears remind me from time to time.
So anyway, please feel free, any and all, to come. We don't expect to do any more workshops this summer because it's summer. But we will be meeting regularly.
Thank you. So now we move on to the open session for commissioners.
I have had 2 calls since the last meeting. One was regarding the landing on Johnson Road, and I talked to Sid. And there was a little erosion, and I saw in the material that we received that has been taken care of. The other was a call Monday night saying that they had heard shots. They park along Lakeshore Drive during the day in Reed, and they heard some gunshots, and they were concerned.
In the woods or on the lake?
On the lake. And I thought maybe USDA was at work. I suggested that they may be after seagulls, and this person said there were a lot of cormorants that day, 25 or 30 cormorants.
Yeah,
So
that
I didn't know if
which
you
day
knew
was
about
this?
that or not.
Which day was this?
Monday.
This Monday?
You got the call Monday, it happened Monday too?
I don't know, I didn't ask her.
Monday, Ben was on the lake that morning because I was overlooking at those basins and I saw him launching Monday.
Okay, so
So he was on the lake,
Yeah.
or not Ben, but USDA
Well,
staff.
she's concerned it was gunshots, and it probably
It
was,
was.
but it was not what she was afraid of.
What landed on the Johnson Road? I'm gonna wing. What landed on the Johnson
Oh,
Road?
there was some forestry work done there.
Oh,
That's where
okay, I
part of
thought
our,
something-
The log yard for the forestry.
Oh, okay,
that's where part of the 46,000 came.
okay, all right.
I asked a question a while back about the folks who regularly draw tankfuls of water from the lake and deliver it to private homeowners for swimming pools and the like. And I was told that there's no charge for that.
No, there is. There's actually an inspection process we have every year. Their tanks need to be inspected. We give them a sticker, and then every time they fill up, it's $10. And that's it is on the honor system that they pay us, but we've always received money from those tankers that withdraw water from the lake. They're good.
And the avoided cost,
The what?
if I'm filling a swimming pool and using city water, how much is that gonna cost me compared?
I'm not even sure how much they charge if they bring it to you.
I just had it done 2 years ago, it's about $200 per splash truck.
Is it? Oh.
And how many splash trucks does it take to fill a pool?
Depends on the pool.
They only filled mine halfway and that was 2 on a 20 by 40 in ground.
Wow.
When I've had
And then
mine
the rest
done,
was just put the hose in.
So a
and let it
20
go.
by 40 is probably about 25,000 gallons.
yeah, when I had mine done, they told me the water was free, it was just the delivery charge.
Yeah, that was a hefty one.
Nick,
I thought there was talk of a standpipe with a gauge on it.
There had been it was before I came. They were talking about that.
Yeah,
I was
Putting one at the
voting
boat
against-
launch for.
Yeah, I
I
would
think
vote
there's
against
water.
the standpipe if we charge $10 a trip. I mean, it would take us all year to pay for the standpipe.
Well, I think it's been set aside, right? There's
that would be so much a gallon, then you could,
Well,
I guess that's where I know that maybe it can be a future agenda topic, because it has been brought up a couple times since I served. I have seen the trucks out there. I think anything that encourages trucks to be parked in that turnabout is the wrong focus for our place. Water isn't free to anybody. The alum treatment is in the water they will be taking. But at some point, it's like the cost for the swimming at the beach. If you're gonna limit it to just Auburn people, you have to have staff and walks and all that. So I would like us to look at this, not drop it from our agenda, because I think it's very important. But again, there's some public perception. Oh, the water's free, but the delivery's this. Well, okay, can you really show me the delivery cost is $200 per load?
Kind of a background on that. Norma and me had put together a cost for watershed efforts, and that's what that fee was based on. Was you don't have the pumping and the piping and the infrastructure capital. You have all the watershed efforts
Right.
over the years. So anybody that's withdrawing water and getting benefit of that work should help defer that. So that's what that was kind of generated for.
So maybe it's just needs to be, that might be the right process,
Could
just not
probably
too low based on
Right.
because the Gulf management fee is a sore subject with East I'll speak as a water trustee, and that benefits those trucks. So that alone is a $350,000 cost.
And the other component to that is they were going and actually deploying it all around Lake Auburn. So we don't want them on
Yeah.
Lakeshore Drive,
Right.
Route 4 and the turnout. It's paved, there's a barrier there, there's other protections, so there's been preferred, how much is in the account, Heather? Cause that money that's taken for that,
It is
It's put in-
70, yeah, it is set aside. I think we're probably close to 3,000 plus since inception.
so, that might buy you the hydrant.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not gonna get the installation. I think the proposed area for control was actually to put it inside the vegetated island of the boat launch.
See, that's where I thought
And
that
that way-
we were trying to.
That was what was conceptualized and what Norma May had proposed to the commission back when it got brought up and put in place, so.
how about at the outlet somewhere?
That's not our property and not, so it
Okay.
depends on what the goal is.
Actually, it is.
We really
the
don't wanna push,
watershed's
Hard to get a tractor
it's
trailer.
hard to get a
in.
tractor trailer in there
Okay.
into a residential neighborhood and turn around.
But
So-
it is we just need to be clear, because the city pushes that in our face all the time.
Well, I think that's the
Our-
thing, if you're gonna have street access to it, then you're causing traffic issues, where they're in the
That's a
turn
narrow
off,
road as well.
they're in a safe environment, they're not causing erosion like they would on Lakeshore Drive. The inspection is actually done, so there's no, contamination, there's hopefully an air gap, they check their pumps, cause they have to pump it out of So there is some cost for them to get it onto their truck and get it to the customer.
Good.
But in Lewiston, we do promote as well. If somebody asks, can I fill my pool off the hydrant? We give them a price, and they can actually fill off a hydrant with a meter. So there's options, but for rural people and others, you know, they don't have a Lewiston, Auburn water district providing water to the front of their house. This is what they do. They actually go and withdraw from other water bodies too, so.
Well, Wilson Lake, is it?
No, we have a canyon up there, so they don't, all the colors and it's good.
But it would be good to deal with this and to address the issues. And so it doesn't have to be done today, but, there's a perception of unfairness that runs through the current arrangement. I mean, $10 is not.
I think it's a great discussion to have for future, and we can bring some more information on what we have, background history, what a proposed, rate adjustment might be to reflect the last rate and what current efforts have been, so we can look at that.
But you mentioned the preferred places, and we should have a designated place.
Well, we've been working towards that.
No, but if we pass it as a piece of
Piece of this review.
the process, I mean, let's deal with all these issues in a package and put it out there for discussion. I don't want to cause anybody, additional problems, but we need to deal with the perception that everybody's being treated fairly by it.
I think it would be a great discussion, we can work towards that.
If I
Whatever question you have.
if I recall when that whole process was going on, initially they gave them some calculations, and the people that were actually extracting the water were coming up with astronomical amounts, and then it was explained to them what a decimal would do in terms of what the actual cost was, and I think they were all happy to pay $10, so.
And it only
I agree
applies
with
to
you
those
would
that
be a
would
good
draw
thing.
under 1,000 gallons. I mean, if you would draw, if it's over 1,000, you're part of that process.
I would wonder how, when the discussion took place, how did he get by the Great Pond aspect of it, where that lake doesn't belong to anybody, belongs to the state?
But I think if you look at the Great Pond definition, it says unless it's a public water supply.
Obviously, there's a.
That's the second sentence after Great Pond writes, unless it's used for public
There must
water.
have been a way, because obviously these guys are paying.
Well, the other thing, it wasn't a mandatory required permit, it's a voluntary program.
I had a technical question. How do you differentiate, with the drawing water from Lake Auburn? Does that come under the water district? Does that come under watershed protection? I mean, we're talking a lot about charges and everything. To me, it's a water supply, so is it under the jurisdiction of the district, or we're charged with protecting the lake? We're not charged with selling water.
Yeah, good point.
You know, I mean, I've had, all the years I've been on there, I've had a little confusion about what the dividing line is, what the responsibilities of the water district as far as protecting the lake. And what our charge is protecting it on the land use.
Well, I suggest that we continue to discuss it, come up with a proposal, and then take it down the street to our friend.
We don't have anything else to do, so we
Right.
can.
It may require the approval of golf
We do have a big burden already.
No, I think but the logic flow is correct. Your job is to protect the watershed.
So like, where are they?
And our job is to sell water and protect
I
the
mean,
lake.
we're talking about $800,000 to protect the lake for home treatment.
Right,
But
that's our job.
is that your job or is that our job?
I suspect it's a piece of both.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
mean,
right.
But those are questions that might come up in public.
The water district is paying the bill.
Yeah.
I guess that makes it our job. Thank you, Casey. But I think these questions, I know it's your time, not my time to talk, but as we start to sort out just understanding more things, we'll probably start to have more conversations about how do we want to understand how we work together on this and who's got what and what pond.
But let's keep this issue on the table and see if we can figure out some sort of policy that can be submitted to the water district for approval.
I like that. I don't think
I have
so.
one more question. Does the USDA fellow that does the, gall control live locally, so he checks it out daily, or how does that work?
So Ben Nugent did live locally, he lives in Sabatis now.
So he
He's
sort
close
of
by.
drives by and
He
sees,
lives in, or he works in Augusta.
uh-huh,
They have staffs, they routinely, so, they're experts in the field, and one, that's why I really like that they're doing it.
Yeah.
Initially, as part of the study, they wanted to understand how widespread and what was the resident population and then figure out what was the migrant population. So they studied where they were when they didn't see them on the lake. So they're not, gulls aren't always on the lake.
yeah, right,
They do what's called loafing, so they could be in fields, they could be on flat rooftops, industrial parking lots. So they actually went around and did this study as part of their management plan, and then they update their management plan routinely. So like any other species, they have times when they're nesting and they've got young, and there's times when
yeah, I
they're
just
migrating,
wondered,
so they
do we do
vary.
this on a dated basis, or does he kind of check it out occasionally?
It varies, and they do
Okay.
checks, so they have multiple staff, so Ben Nugent is the one managing it, he's not always the one on the water, he used to be, but they've got 3 to 5 people that are trained up, depending on what's going on, that have multiple years of experience, so they might check. Some of the residents they found is that they would see them during the day, so sometimes they change it up and they go during the day, especially the new young. They don't have 3 years of memory of don't stay on this lake. So they train the new young species to not stay on the lake.
Okay.
Okay, folks.
They're smart enough to
we're gonna go into executive session here. So,
Say goodbye.
what's the,
I move we go into executive session regarding negotiations of potential lien transaction in accordance with 1 MRSA 4056.
and that's what we're looking to. All in favor? Thank you.
I move we adjourn.
Second,
Thank you. Now, I'm reading this thing from.
Mike, you wanna
Bernstein.
shut that one off, cause we
Yeah.
have a lot of.
Hold on.
there.